CTV News with Ricardo Veneza.
So there's a lot from an operations perspective that we need to make sure is ready to go on the day that we do open to traffic.
The Gordie Howe International Bridge project is inching closer to the finish line. The latest progress update shows the megastructure spanning the Detroit River is essentially 95% built. Good evening. Nearly 7 years after breaking ground, the $6.4 billion bridge is into the home stretch ahead of its official grand opening expected later this year. CTV's Robert Lothian joins us with the very latest on this tonight. Robert, the project lead's telling us the finish line is in sight.
Yeah, that's right, Ricardo, and anticipation is building for the new connection, promising to ease congestion at the Ambassador Bridge as well as here on Church Road and unlock economic growth.
I do love hearing the ideas and suggestions that members of the public have regarding the opening. I'm really inspired by the fact that community members have embraced this bridge and want to see it progress and want to really see this as the public's bridge.
Officials overseeing the project provided another progress report this evening, reporting construction is more than 95% complete. Crews are working to finish buildings, install fences, as well as meet safety standards. On a larger scale, the massive crane on the U.S. side is being disassembled after a similar Canadian crane was recently packed up, evidence of just how close this project is to wrapping up. Officials say it remains too early to choose a specific opening day for travelers to hit the pavement. Maintaining it will still be this fall. The toll to cross is still yet to be announced.
We also have to look at, the toll rates that are at other border crossings. So other crossings here in Windsor, Detroit, other crossings in southwestern Ontario, and then also look at the value that we're providing at the Gordie Howe International Bridge. So really a lot of factors go into that final determination, and we still are working on finalizing that.
Bridge officials say this was the 31st public project update for the Gordie Howe Bridge. They're preparing for public progress meeting number 32 later this year ahead of the grand opening. Ricardo.
Okay, Robert, thank you for that. Yeah, we're all looking forward to that planned September opening. That's CTV's Robert Lothian tonight. Well, the bridge has certainly been a boon for the region's economy, but the ongoing trade war launched by the U.S. and the uncertainty it's injected into the broader economy is spelling troubling times to come. A new Deloitte report forecasts a modest recession through the second and third financial quarters of this year.
If we can weather this storm, I think come fall, we're probably in a much better spot.
Windsor-Essex Chamber of Commerce head Ryan Donnelly says some manufacturers in the region have already faced layoffs, but the impact hasn't been as widespread as feared. Deloitte suggests, though, things could have been worse. Early tariff exemptions and recent policy moves have helped avoid a deeper downturn. Donnelly points to the region's 10.8% unemployment rate, second highest in the country, as cause for concern, but believes with another major project in the region's new hospital on the horizon, Windsor-Essex could still yet navigate the economic headwinds, despite being pegged as one of the regions set to take the brunt of this tariff turmoil.
If we do manage to get through this and we don't hear that R word and the economy still does continue to move forward at it's still a positive rate, I think that's extremely important for us, because I think if you look at the underlying economics and reflecting back on where the Conference Board of Canada thought we would be at this time, remove the tariff discussion, I think that it positions this entire economy to do extremely well coming out of it.
Now to the Netherlands, where Prime Minister Mark Carney joined his NATO allies for a major summit and committed to more than doubling its share of GDP for a new defense goal.
What the relative spend is going to be on that and what's the most efficient way to do that. That's the first element. The second element is whether the threat environment itself changes, because we should spend for the environment, not for some what could be an arbitrary number.
Everybody's talking about spending on defense. We're not spending on defense because there's nothing we want to defend. We don't want to be in a situation where we have to fight a war. Politically, financially, socially, that is disastrous. What we are spending on is deterrence.
That's Christian Leuprecht of the Royal Military College of Canada commenting on that new target. The NATO allies agreeing to a new target of 5% of GDP for defense spending, a target that was first floated by U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, that seems to have shored up the military alliance after concerns Trump would consider pulling America out of the decades-long security pact. CTV's Jeremy Sherrill has more on what the new goal could cost Canada.
A highly anticipated historic sit-down for the NATO alliance started today with a clear message from Secretary General Mark Rutte.
For too long, one ally, the United States, carried too much of the burden of that commitment. And that changes today. President Trump, dear Donald, you made this change possible.
That has been Donald Trump's pitch as he drove the charge to increase the alliance's defense spending pledge.
NATO is going to become very strong with us.
Alliance members making official today what was expected, a new baseline spending target of 5% of GDP to be reached by 2035.
This is a significant commitment in response to significant threats to our security.
The fact that we are doing this today, the fact that we're united, the fact that the United States is fully behind this, the fact that we're working together is going to reduce the threat environment 10 years from now.
3.5% will have to go to core defense spending, with a requirement to spend another 1.5% on defense-related infrastructure investments. Carney says meeting the 5% commitment would mean earmarking $150 billion a year for defense.
So yes, we'll find gaps. We'll be transparent about that. We'll make up those gaps. So the overall context of the net increase in defense spending is much less than the headline from 2 to 5.
But key to today's new pledge from the alliance, a plan to review progress in 2029, ensuring it still meets the needs of the global security landscape.
Senior government officials tell us they see an opportunity then to address whether the breakdown of 3.5 and 1.5 could be balanced differently, a change they believe could be better for Canada. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, The Hague.
Well, there was an odd topic to come out of the summit, with NATO head Mark Rutte's choice of words in this exchange with Trump concerning the Israel-Iran conflict.
They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
Well, that comment led to this exchange between the president and a reporter afterward.
Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. Do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No? He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Now, Rutte tried to explain it away later in an interview, suggesting the comment was actually taken out of context.
The daddy thing, I didn't call him daddy. What I said is that sometimes in Europe, I hear sometimes countries saying, hey, Mark, will the US stay with us? And I said, that sounds a little bit like a small child asking his daddy, hey, are you still staying with the family? So in that sense, I use daddy, not that I was calling President Trump daddy.
Well, for Trump's part, he says he took it as a term of affection. On to the matter of the fragile ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Trump says American and Iranian officials will hold talks next week after the pause in fighting took hold. He is also pushing back today on a leaked U.S. intelligence report which suggests the strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities may only have set the country back by a few months.
Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out.
The United Nations nuclear watchdog says it expects the damage at Iran's underground facility is very significant, but can't know for sure. Well, to Ottawa now, a scary moment in the Red Chamber today. Senator Patrick Brazeau from Quebec rose to speak and then collapsed.
Thank you very much. And
a Senate spokesperson says Brazeau had a medical incident. He was examined by paramedics, and they say he is on the mend. And Windsor, another day and another raid at the Fungi's Magic Mushroom Dispensary downtown. Now, this is the 8th time Windsor police have busted the illegal dispensary. Police say they seized more than $21,000 worth of illegal drugs. A 33-year-old employee is facing charges for possession for the purpose of trafficking and failing to comply with a previous court order. In Windsor's parks, you may have noticed some grass growing a little longer than usual. It's part of a new initiative from the city to naturalize 22 of its 206 parks to achieve a number of benefits. But as our Bob Belachico tells us, not all residents are on board.
Most people don't like it.
According to Jim Morrison, that is the prevailing thought in his ward as the city of Windsor is naturalizing 22 parks.
No, a lot of us don't agree with this.
Many like the idea of naturalizing, but don't feel this part of Remington Park should have been chosen because it takes space away from kids who play there.
Beyond that, all the ticks and when the balls go over there, the kids are running over there. Like my 19-month-old, he's been in between that, and I'm like, no, I don't want you over there because of the ticks.
Well, I think they should have consulted with us for sure, asked if that area of the park is used. It is used, and now we can't use it.
We looked at an underutilized portion of the park that wasn't seeing a lot of activity or use and have begun naturalizing that portion.
The city is going to maintain access to each park and cut along fence lines. Executive Director of Parks and Facilities, James Chaco, says the parks are going through a trial process as there are different ways of naturalizing them. Morrison says he wants to make it easy for kids to walk through the field to get to school, but he does like the benefits naturalization brings.
It encourages pollinators. It takes care of water better. It's good for the air quality in the city.
It's going to long-term set up what you see at many other parks that have naturalized environments, whether you go to Malden Park or Blue Heron or parts of Ojibwe Prairie Complex.
Chaco says those parks offer interaction between the maintained areas, trails, and the natural environment.
I've noticed that there are swallowtails, and eventually the monarchs are going to start coming again. We've seen bumblebees all over the place.
Paul Fram lives next to one of the park entrances and has enjoyed seeing butterflies and the color nature has offered in the field the past 2 months.
Leave it alone. Like trim along the edges, cut half the field, but this part doesn't need to be touched right now.
Bob Belachico, CTV News.
Well, you can take one big name out of the running for the soon-to-be vacant city council seat. Former MP and city councillor Brian Massey says he's not interested in his old Ward 2 chair. Massey held that ward before becoming the Member of Parliament in Windsor West, which he held for 23 years. Fabio Costante has resigned the seat to take on the top job at the Windsor-Essex Community Housing Corporation later this summer. Now to an update on a story we brought you last night. Leamington approving the purchase of new AI surveillance cameras to crack down on apparent mischief at the marina and along the waterfront. Council approved the $115,000 needed for the cameras last night from a reserve fund. They'll be installed in a number of areas, including the marina parking lot, Seacliff Park Amphitheatre, and Mercia Park. Municipality's IT manager telling CTV sister station AM 800 the artificial intelligence component of those cameras will allow for enhanced searches. In the meantime, there's some new signs up indicating no loitering or excessive noise and that parking is only allowed between 7 and 9. OPP will be increasing its presence in the area as well in a bid to reduce some of that negative attention. And staying in Leamington, the town is once again greeting an annual visitor. Fish flies are back, but they're not getting the warmest welcome from locals. CTV's Chris Campbell brings us that story tonight.
They arrive without warning and leave just as suddenly. But when they're here, you'll know it.
We get thousands of them.
You just use the mail and swat around you as you're walking.
The fish fly, or mayfly, is a sign of a healthy Lake Erie. But it also brings headaches to towns along the shoreline.
If it's good for the environment, I'm happy to see them, but they are kind of a pain in the neck.
The good thing is they're only here for a couple of weeks.
They're feeding the environment needs it, but what a mess.
In places like Kingsville and Leamington, the invasion has become part of summer life.
The town's been fabulous cleaning it up. We haven't had any accidents. Some years it makes such a grease lick that the cars go to stop and they go right into the fence down here at Seacliff Park. But for the most part, it's been okay.
I don't know why they use my car as a target, but they do.
With short lifespans and no mouths, fish flies don't do harm, but they do disrupt daily life. Some businesses even adjust hours or cleaning routines during the height of the hatch.
This year seems to really, there's a lot of them.
I don't like it. They smell, and
There's no sense in trying to clean it off until they're all done coming here.
The good news, the season usually only lasts a couple of weeks.
When mayflies are thriving and hatching, that's telling you that you have a lot of oxygen in the water, and it basically suggests that things are getting pretty good.
The bad news, we're right in the thick of it.
The one big thing is they smell bad. When they're dead, they smell like fish. We turn off the outside lights at night. We hose off our cars. They're not particularly creepy. They're just kind of annoying.
For now, it's brooms, buckets, and a whole lot of patience.
Free fish flies, bring your own buckets, bring your own truckloads at a time. I'll give you the shovels if you want. You can clean them up on your own first thing in the morning.
Chris Campbell, CTV News.
Okay, what a price. Sounds like a good deal, I guess. After the break, CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald joining us for a look at the rest of this week's forecast.
And those are still people who are legally presumed innocent.
Still ahead, why Ontario's ombudsman says the corrections system in the province is facing a crisis. CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald joining us now for a check of the forecast. Gary, feels like we're out of that extreme heat now. Things a little bit more comfortable, but I guess now we're watching for rain.
You're right about that. Good evening once again, Ricardo. Ladies and gentlemen, temperatures are actually seasonal, but combined with humidity, it does feel warmer than the near 27 degrees Celsius that we reached. But Ricardo was right. I mean, the last 4 days straight, we've been talking heat warnings where temperatures were several degrees above seasonal or average, and it felt like the 40s, mid-40s, in fact. So much more comfortable but active weather in the form of showers, even some light thunderstorm activity is possible as I speak into tomorrow morning. To the north and west of southern Ontario, there's a significant disturbance. It could clip us here through the overnight, and then a separate system will usher in some showers. We think it will be very scattered in nature, a good west to easterly flow, 2 significant waves of it. And those cold fronts that are dragging through Lake Erie and the lower Great Lakes region proper over the next, say, day and a half could be the triggers for thunderstorm activity, in addition to the garden variety showers that we expect during the summer season. And that's certainly underway right now. Rainfall graphic giving us an idea where rain is likely to fall and the projections in terms of precipitation amounts. It looks like Windsor, Essex, and anywhere along the Lake St. Clair shores west could see the heaviest amounts over the next 18 to, say, 36 hours. For tonight, cloudy, scattered showers possible, but I think it remains cloudy and relatively dry. It is mild, though. Normally an overnight temperature for June 25th in our region, we're closer to about 16 degrees Celsius. We will see 21. So opening up the windows could help get some airflow in your dwelling. And also know air quality still isn't great. It's in the moderate range tonight into tomorrow at the very least. We're looking at some scattered showers, increasing potential of seeing isolated thunderstorm activity passing through, and it could be intermittent. We could see more than one round. And that's taking us into Thursday and Friday. Showers through the weekend, Saturday, and the average daytime temperature is about 30 over the next 7 days when you take them together. Canada Day, 6 days from now, we're looking at about a 60% chance of rain. Hopefully things change over the next couple of days. That's a look at your weather.
Gary, thank you. A down day for the TSX off of broad-based losses across the markets. You can see there down 152 points, the Dow down 106, while the NASDAQ climbs 61 points. Of course, the NASDAQ tech heavy. Now, the dollar shed just over 1/10 of a cent to rest at 72.80 cents U.S. Gold's up more than $9 an ounce, and oil recovering 55 cents a barrel.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
Start your day with the latest local news. By signing up for our newsletter, you'll get direct local content straight from CTV Windsor to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewswindsor.ca. Ontario's ombudsman released a report today calling for urgent action to course correct on a corrections crisis in the province. He says reform is required after a record number of complaints. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris brings us those details.
Ontario's ombudsman describes a correctional system in need of overhaul, and fast.
The cauldron starts heating up and the pressures build.
It's a system where he says conditions have been worsening, with complaints up 55% from last year. Staff is working short-handed. Solitary confinement and lockdowns are common. And inmates are overcrowded, with some facilities at 150% capacity.
We're finding people housed in broom closets and former pantries and stuff. So the system has deteriorated. It's in crisis.
The government has promised to expand existing jails and build new ones.
They can build more jails, but if you can't get a case through trial, you'll be building jails upon jails, and those are still people who are legally presumed innocent.
That's most of the people in lockup, people who haven't been convicted of anything. Even for those who have been found guilty. The ombudsman says the system is falling short of its goal of rehabilitation. This criminal defense lawyer thinks a lack of political will may be the problem.
It may be that there's a perception that the public doesn't like the idea that money is being spent on people who are in custody.
A spokesperson for the Ministry of the Solicitor General says they expect correctional staff to uphold standards. They'll review the ombudsman's report, but they're also touting record investments in the sector. Still, we know sometimes inhumane conditions behind bars can have spillover effects.
We have sentences being reduced or charges being stayed because of the breaches of fundamental rights within those correctional facilities.
It's a scenario that played out at Maplehurst Correctional Complex in Milton in December 2023. It came after a guard was assaulted. Video obtained by the Toronto Star and shared with CTV News shows inmates being stripped down to their boxers, their wrists held back with zip ties. The ordeal lasted 2 days.
If anyone's done anything wrong, there's a process. They'll be held accountable.
The sentences of some of those inmates have been reduced. The ombudsman has launched a separate investigation into what happened at Maplehurst.
We hope that it's been an eye-opener, but we'll have to see whether or not it's going to have the kind of systemic impacts that we would like to see happen here.
There's no timeline right now for the ombudsman to complete his investigation into what happened at Maplehurst. He only launched it a few weeks ago, so we may be waiting a few months. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
A 2-week work stoppage that shut down operations at DHL Express Canada appears to be over after the shipping company reached a tentative agreement with the union. Now, Unifor represents the over 2,100 workers covered by that deal at DHL. It has not released any details of that agreement, saying a ratification meeting will take place in the coming days to verify that agreement. The union was at an impasse with DHL over issues of wages and working conditions and concerns about automation in the workplace. The Chatham-Kent Health Alliance is using new AI-powered imaging software to enhance stroke care. Rapid AI looks at the brain scans, helping doctors make faster and more accurate treatment decisions. The technology is promising to help diagnose and treat patients that come in with stroke-like symptoms. CKHA Chief of Radiology, Dr. Stacey Spear, says rapid AI highlights areas of the brain in trouble and shows whether blood flow is being blocked. And staying in Chatham-Kent, a huge boost for the 8th annual Operation Backpack program. The car and vendor show raised more than $16,000. The group hopes to fill 3,000 backpacks with school supplies for students across the municipality. Now, this is the most the group has looked to raise to date. There are 2 months left to hit the goal of $75,000. We've still got more news straight ahead after the break on CTV News at 11.
Pure Country 89, Windsor's country music station. Pure access to the biggest stars and the hottest songs. Download the free iHeartRadio app to listen to Pure Country everywhere.
Environment Canada's heat warning is over, but city pools weren't an option for those looking for relief from the sweltering conditions over the past few days. The city says it is in the final stages of prepping its 6 outdoor pools. They're set to open Saturday at noon. The city says it has hired 24 new lifeguards to bring the full complement to about 230 this season. And it was those preparations that was part of the opening delay.
They open on Saturday and not any earlier because of our students. We need all of our students to be lifeguards, and those students are in school till Thursday. So we prep with training all June long. We have them come in, and then they're ready to go as soon as school ends.
Okay, CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald is back for a wrap of his 7-day forecast. And Gary, as you mentioned earlier, we're watching for that rain as we move into tomorrow morning.
You're right. I think rainfall in the morning, about a 30% chance of at least one occurrence, but more likely after the noon hour, in particular between 2 and about 7 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Keeping the umbrella nearby recommended. We'll reach a high of 30 degrees, 4 degrees above seasonal. And speaking of 30 degrees, that's the average temperature over the next 6 to 7 days. We could see more showers Friday to Saturday. Sunny on Sunday, Monday showers, and then more showers and mostly cloudy on Canada Day. The sunshine returns a week from now on Wednesday, high of 29. Let's look at your weather. Do try to enjoy it, and keep in mind the wet weather coming over the next few days. Good night.
Okay, Gary, thank you for that. Well, the heat wave didn't cool enthusiasm for the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society's largest fundraiser of the year this weekend. The Strays on Street Corners campaign saw volunteers get out in the city to collect donations. The campaign proved to be a big hit. Organizers say more than $78,000 was raised. The money will go towards providing food, shelter, and medical care to thousands of animals in our community.
So, I mean, we are like really pushing it here, and you know, it's been a tougher year sometimes, you know, looking at donations or revenue, looking at the economics of everything in our society right now. So this is coming at a great time to help us to be able to take care of the animals. It goes into our general fund for that.
Well, a fantastic result, and a thank you to everyone who was able to donate and contribute. That is our time this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6. Until then, I'm Ricardo, Veneza, and for everyone here at CTV on both sides of the camera, have a great night.